Hi, everyone. Good evening. Well, early evening. It's 5:33 at night, Monday morning, after a crazy weekend in the Piney Woods. Welcome again to Pardon Me, Alex, the only Lumberjack basketball podcast on the air. We are your hosts, Alex and Jax. And Jacqueline has on her shirt that she got this weekend, the giveaway. Very nice. Very nice. I opted for the long sleeve, old, tertiary logo because it's cold in my house. It's wild. I know. I don't understand. But anyway, so man, we had a crazy weekend. We're excited to talk about it. We have a special guest on today as well who we'll introduce in a minute. But I mean, what a game that was yesterday. And I say yesterday as in Sunday. Yes, we had a Sunday game and it was on ESPNU. Crazy.
It's great.
National television. Can't beat it. And we showed out, which was good.
We did. We had a good turnout. Like Alex said, we had quite a little eventful day. We had a bunch of special guests, which we'll get to all of those. But we started out with our PMA tailgate that we did. We've, I think, told you in the past, but we did. Alex and I did a package together for the alumni homecoming auction that was a PMA package for the winning bidder to come to a game courtesy of us, as host a tailgate for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then their opportunity to come in on episodes. So that'll be our special guest today.
Yeah, so we are so excited to introduce our special guest, and that man is none other than Richard Boyer. Look at him go.
How's it going?
Welcome.
I tell you what, when I first saw the item on the online auction for homecoming, I usually, buy several things, but when I saw this one, I thought this one was special, and boy, did you guys go above and beyond. I really feel like after the experience yesterday, I really realized what a bargain I got on the bidding, and just wanted to say thank you for everything you did putting that on. And my guess is once people start hearing about how great this experience was, I'm not going to have as easy a time bidding on this thing again next year. So I'm sure that the price will be even higher. But the seats, the games, the tailgate, the swag, even wearing some of my swag that I got yesterday has been fantastic. And then the real icing on the cake was the way that the Jacks performed last night too. So thank you so much, and I really encourage folks to look at this item if you guys do that again this fall, because it was really a memorable experience. I got to bring an old friend of mine that we met at SFA in 1989, and been friends ever since, and got to bring a buddy to the game, and had a just outstanding time.
That's awesome. We love to hear that, and I love to hear some of even Frito's stories. So his special guest was also one of Alex and I's friend, Mark Friedman, on the alumni board with us. So I'm glad to hear that y'all loved it, and we have to take a moment to say a special thanks to some people who helped us put all that on, because we had the Alumni Association helping us with the tailgate. We had Ted Smith, State Farm, and Jimmy Mize helping do all the cooking, the fabulous food we had. We had R&K Distributors giving us some booze, Fredonia Brewery giving us some booze, Rusty Rust and a couple of other helpful men like Gary Lee Ashcraft to help us take the tents down. So, and Sean Kemper, even in his sickness, to drop off his stuff too. So we had a lot of help. It was definitely a group effort, and I think it went good. So I'm glad to hear that y'all had a good time.
Oh, it was a really good turnout, I thought, coming out to that. And I even had to give Mayor Mize compliments on his cooking.
It was good.
I'm sure he was very, very thankful and blessed to have that blessing from you. No, yeah, and we had a lot of people helping us with this event, and like Jacqueline named them all out. Couldn't do without them. And of course, shout out to Ticket Office and Chris Bentley and the entire ticketing team over there for helping us. get you guys down and on the court and stuff. And, couldn't do without them either. They're amazing and they're so helpful. And, we were very thankful that they made a little accommodation for us, and we figured out a good deal to get you down there. So that was good. But yeah, no, we were just excited to have you. And I mean, the fact that you're, a little bit about you, you're a former regent, right? So
Yes.
when did you serve as a regent at SFA?
I was on the Board of Regents from 05 to 11. So it's hard to believe it's been that far away, since I've been away from it. But yeah, so that was there's 6-year terms, and my term was 05 to 11.
Wow. So, you did the regency position term, and then, now you're the mayor of the colony, right? Which is located in the Dallas area.
Yep, we're up in southeast Denton County, about 20 miles north of Dallas. City's got just under 50,000, and we are right here on Highway 121 between Louisville, Plano, Carrollton, and Frisco. So we're right in we're the jelly and the donut between those bigger cities.
I love that. Yeah, no, we know a lot about the colony just because we like to host that alumni kind of like back to NAC event up at the Lava Cantina. Isn't that what it was called?
It was, yeah. It was. I guess it was last April we did that.
Yeah, and great event.
Up again soon, I guess. Then
I don't know if they're going to do that again this year. That's not.
No,
I guess we can talk to Rocky or Trey or whoever over in the alumni folks, see if they're going to do that again. But we're always happy to have SFA. I got the honor of being able to name it Axum Jacks Day in the colony and do a formal proclamation. It's about all we get to do, but as mayors. But it was great to see that much purple here in town.
Yeah. I love that. I really do. And I do hope we can have another, hey, maybe we'll have a watch party if the Jacks make it to the big dance.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. That would be good.
Our high school basketball coach here is a lumberjack graduate.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so we do all right as far as trying to support the Jacks, but unfortunately, I get a lot of grief because our women's basketball coach is a Bearcat. She can't explain to me what a Bearcat is either, but but she actually played and talks about the days where she used to beat SFA back in the old Southland Conference, and I just assume not have a conversation like that with her.
It's just best to just let them stew in their own grief and their own misery. Because they are from a prison town, so it's not very fun there. It's not very exciting.
That's right. I was at that luncheon for Dr. Westbrook the other day, and one of the old SFA historians was talking about where the campus is located used to be property that was owned by Sam Houston and Thomas J. Rusk. And so that just goes to show that, and they said that Sam Houston's first law office was in downtown Nacogdoches, which goes to show not even Sam Houston wanted to be in Huntsville.
Exactly. It shows that Nacogdoches is the superior town.
Oh, no doubt.
Absolutely. So again, and you have, a little bit of background with Kyle, Coach Keller. You kind of alluded to the fact that you know him and that you're kind of
sort of. Now he
friends maybe
know me from Adam, but I've got some Kyle Keller history. This was back when he was still a assistant at A&M, and I was on a plane from DFW to Vegas, and I saw Coach Kennedy, the head coach of A&M, walk by, and then here comes Coach Keller, and he ends up sitting in the window seat. I'm stuck in a middle seat. I'm not a middle seat guy. You've seen me. Anyway, so I'm stuck in the middle seat, and Coach Keller's in the window seat. And I kind of know who he is. I kind of recognize him, and I get my phone out and I'm doing a little Google search and I confirm. And then, then I spend the next 3 hours just probably completely beating him down, talking college basketball. And, we're talking about subjects like Thomas Walkup and because we had just gone to the NCAA tournament that year, and he was talking about that. And he was talking about then how much he loved Nacogdoches, how much he loved recruiting that area, how much, what a great program. At the time, Underwood was the coach. I think it was his first or second year. He was just saying all these great positive things, and that was so I was no longer on the board. But when I saw the coaching position come open, and I was a fan of Coach Boynton too, but I sent an email to Robert Hill, the athletic director at the time, and I'm like, hey, you ever thought about Kyle Keller? And I'm not trying to take credit because I had nothing to do with it, because the response I got from Robert Hill was, oh yes, he's on our radar screen quite high. So, and
that's so funny. What a small world.
And I mean, you guys interact with him. I don't know how anyone, and I'm a huge Coach Keller fan, definitely in the fan club, but you guys interact with him way more than I ever have. And every time you have an interaction with him, I've always come away, and I've interviewed him before, and I've talked to him. You come away going, man, that's a great guy, and that's the right guy for this program. The way he is respected and interacts with the players, to the way he handles himself. I mean, that's and to the way he really fits in Nacogdoches. And I'm just a big fan of his style of coaching, and then that translates to, we never lost the trademark hard defense. He was able to keep that going through that transition, and just really like the guy.
Yeah, we've had the pleasure of hanging out with him, but not for 3 hours. So you definitely have us beat there, because we've never been able to sit down with him for 3 hours and talk his head off about college basketball. So
I'm telling you, if he does remember it, it's not a pleasant memory of his, and I'm sure he's tried to put it out of his mind. And this guy won't shut up about college basketball and SFA, and they were going out to some, I don't know if it was AAU. They're going out to some big tournament where they, a bunch of recruits were going to be out there. They're going to go watch games and stuff like that. That's why they were headed to Vegas. He wasn't going to gamble or anything like that. But yeah, like I said, I almost hope he doesn't remember that, because I'm sure I just was very annoying. But I loved it. I loved every second of it.
No, I'm sure he enjoyed it. I don't know if he would make it 3 hours talking to the two of us. He probably wouldn't enjoy that.
No, because no, he'd be over it within 30 minutes. That's being generous, honestly. But that's just so funny. What a small world, that the fact you sat next to him for, what would be our future head basketball coach for 3 hours, and you knew him as an assistant coach for A&M. You didn't know that he was going to, eventually actually be the coach here. So that's hilarious.
No clue.
Yeah,
I love
it. So funny.
I bet you he does remember you. He strikes me as the guy that remembers most people he interacts with, especially someone for 3 hours on a plane.
Yeah.
So I bet he does remember. That's fantastic, man. Richard, so glad that you're on, and that you won that you're our first inaugural winner of our package, man. Because it was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you at Tailgate, and I'm really glad that you and Frito had a good time sitting there on courtside watching the game. And what a game to watch, right? I mean, it was a absolute complete team win from buzzer to buzzer. I mean, from tip off to the buzzer, right? So with that being said, let's talk about the game.
All right. Before we start, we did have two more special guests. We had Kyle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I don't want to forget that. My bad.
Kyle from White Coops Digest got to come. I was so glad he got to come. It sounds like he got to experience even more of the wonderful Nacogdoches eating spots and all kinds of things.
He did. I'm glad Kyle came. We always love hanging out with Kyle and talking with him and chatting with him, especially Jacqueline. She had him cornered for about 25 minutes talking about the resume seating at Tailgate. He was sweating. You were grilling him, and he was sweating, man.
I got more comments on that too for this episode. But yeah, he was probably ready to get out of that combo. But anyhow, we had Kyle there, and I brought a friend, Addie, to her first SFA game, and she had such a good time that she's coming back Wednesday. So
that's awesome. I'm glad she's coming. Okay, good.
Yeah. So okay. So
oh wait, we got a comment from Sean.
Keller has a Mac Brown. Okay, Kat's coming on it. Keller has a Mac Brown trait, and he remembers everyone he encounters and will deliver a random story he's never told before. Almost always, absolutely comical. Yeah, we'll have to ask him about it because I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does remember it.
I'm telling you, I 100% agreed. I might need Scotty to calm down.
I know he is like really trying to hog the spotlight right now. So for general history and background info with California Baptist, we really don't have much because this is only the second season that we've played them and only the second time we've played them because both last season and the season we've only played them once. So going in, we had 1 win and 0 loss. We beat them last year on the road, 81-77. So that's the history that I got. So now Alex can tell us about the WAC standings and the WAC seating.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in the WAC this weekend. We talked a little bit about it on Saturday before our game on Sunday, but not too much has shifted in the standings aspect. Utah Valley still at the very tippity top at 13-3 in the WAC conference standings. Sam Houston at 12-4, Southern Utah 11-5. We are tied now with Southern Utah, so now we are tied for third. Both at 11-5. Seattle U is now at 10-6. Grand Canyon 8-7. Tarleton 8-9, and then California Baptist 6-9. UTA 6-10. Abilene Christian 5-10. UT RGV 5-11. They've been playing a lot better the past few games, but unfortunately, they're still at the tippity bottom of the pack here. Utah Tech 4-12, and then of course, as we all know, New Mexico State had to build them. Because they ain't doing nothing. But flipping over to the resume seating, there's been a little bit of a shift, a small shift, if you will. Utah Valley still at number 1, Sam Houston still at number 2, Southern Utah 3, Seattle U at 4, and I'll be a monkey's uncle if SFA didn't move up to number 5. Finally, we moved up. That win yesterday put us ahead of Grand Canyon, who is now in the number 6 spot in the seedings by literally 23 points, 0.23 points. Yeah. Love to see it. Now we just need to make sure that we continue to win and Grand Canyon continues to lose. Because and if anybody else loses, Seattle U, they're ahead of us by like 2 points. Southern Utah, the same. The difference between 3rd and 4th seed is literally 0.05 points. So a lot can happen in the last couple games here. Fingers crossed that we can maybe escape and get that 4 seed. Maybe. I don't know if it's possible. I haven't done the math. I'm sure Connor can do the math because he's better at math than I am. Because he did the math the other day and said that if we won, we would move up. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But it's crazy that we finally moved out of that dang 6 seed. We've been in that freaking 6 seed for so long. And I'm just glad that we have a little bit of movement.
Me too.
We've been clawing our way back up into the standings there. So good to hear.
This goofy system really makes that loss to UT Arlington hurt even worse. It's not just a conference loss, but because of things like that, it makes it even harder to climb that ladder. And you can never convince me that this is the right way to seed your conference.
Me either, and we'll get deeper into that because I got more notes on that. But
yeah,
I agree.
And yeah, Jacqueline and I and Kyle had a long talk about this yesterday, and I agree it's probably not the best way. Like I get I get what they were thinking of as the whack, but I have just a few issues about the timing of it. But yeah,
we'll get more into that.
We'll get more into that for sure. It's just hard because if you have to win the games you're supposed to win, especially at home, and if you lose at home, it's detrimental, like beyond detrimental. So anyway, let's move on for now.
All right, so general game notes. We had, as our starting five, we had AJ, Day, Nigel, Trell, and Nana. We did win 80-58. Love to see it. Our attendance, like we said, was better than it has been most of the games this season at 35-54. We will jump into Sean Kennedy's stat section. Want to extend a big get well soon and hope that Sean and Lisa are both bouncing back faster than I did.
Again, the fact that they went and set up the tailgate feeling like absolute death warmed over for us was huge. Like, they didn't have to do that, and they did that, and we could not be more thankful that they did do that. Yeah.
Very appreciate. Hey, Rick. Hey, ladies. Glad y'all are warm. LOL. Yeah, I know. Sorry. It's like a lovely 80 degrees down here, and I know you're freezing up there. So.
Yeah, I think it just snowed up there, didn't it? Maybe.
Probably. But yeah, definitely appreciated and much needed that Sean dropped off all of his stuff. So not in vain. It was definitely used because we had a pretty good turnout.
We did.
All right, so Sean Kennedy's stat section, we had an overall field goal percentage of 53.4 to their 34.5, so pretty much 20% higher. Our three-point percentage was 46.7 to their 29.2, so also almost 20% higher. Snowing now, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Bundle up, Rick.
We had a free throw percentage of 78.6. We had 36 points in the paint, 23 points off turnovers, 10 second chance points, which I felt like the second chance points were higher, but anyhow, and I thought we had more fast break points than 4, but still good. Bench points, we had 19. We had 36 total rebounds, 9 offensive and 27 defensive. We had 21 fouls. My favorite thing, probably single-digit turnovers at 8.
Thank God.
Oh, yes. They had 15 turnovers. We had 7 steals and 2 blocks. And our game leader in our Pilgrim's Pride player of the game was Nigel. 21 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Day was next in the points category with 15 points, 1 rebound, 1 block, 2 steals. We had AJ with 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. And I want to give a little shout out to Jalil because he had 8 rebounds, which I think is probably his highest for the season.
Oh, I guarantee.
So obviously I would have to say my player of the game was Nigel.
No doubt. Usually, Richard, we go through and we talk about the Pilgrim's Pride player of the game, but then we also give our player of the game if it's different or the same. If you want to name a player of the game too, go ahead. Who do you think player of the game?
I 9 for 12 shooting, and the type of defense they were playing. You can't go anywhere else but number 0 for this one. He was outstanding. And that doesn't mean anyone else played poorly, but he was just, especially that first few minutes of the second half where they just really, ran away with it. He was just unstoppable.
You hit the nail right on the head there. I mean, Nigel was a force yesterday. He could not be contained. He was like an absolute terror on the court yesterday. I mean, the only stats that he didn't have anything in were blocks and steals, but that's fine. We didn't need him to do that because he had 21 points. So, I mean, he almost had as many points as he played in the game. He played for 27 minutes. He was 6 points away from having a point per minute, which is, again, wild to me. But yeah, we had a bunch of guys who had really, really good games yesterday. So really proud of them.
What I loved is everybody scored. Everyone scored.
Everybody scored. Even Jaleel, 1 point, baby. But he did so much. I'm going to start with Jaleel because he played really well. He played for 14 minutes yesterday, which again doesn't seem like a lot, but those 14 minutes were absolutely crucial, especially when Nana needed a break. He had, like you said, 8 rebounds. Eight rebounds. And I think he also had a block, but they didn't count it or something. I don't know, but like he was in there just, again, terrorizing people.
Yeah, he played great. Before we start with the feats of strength, on the last one we did a new little segment with Rob one-liners, but for this one, since we were on ESPNU and had ESPN commentators, I want to cover a few things that they talked about because they did a really great job, really great. So we had David Paget and David Saltzman commentating. So a few little notes I had. So first of all, they showed some great B-roll footage of the Lottie Nemola Performance Facility, and they were really talking about how great it is and that it's just right on par with some Power 5 conference facilities. So that was awesome. They talked about little shout out to women's basketball for SFA. They talked about our Duke win and how that affects our scheduling. And how it just makes it really difficult for us to build a non-conference schedule. Let's see. They talked about our 3-point game within 30 seconds left at Kansas. They talked about, so I thought this was really nice that they mentioned this during Black History Month, but they talked about Keller whenever he was at La Tech having lunches with Eddie Robinson, who was the Grambling head coach, and Eddie Lloyd, which was the head coach he was under at La Tech. Just how they kind of talked about some efforts to improve stuff at HBCUs and different racial relations and all that stuff. They also talked about, one funny one. They made a little dig at Hoot, and they said he's been doing all he can in Huntsville except making the NCAA tournament. I was like, facts. Thank you for saying that. I don't think you meant it, but loved it. And then they even talked shit about the conference seating formula or whatever that the WAC's using this season. And they said all these same exact things that I said to Kyle at the tailgate, which is, what's the point of having conferences if you're going to use this? They were like, well, I'm not a math major, but it's difficult. It's confusing, which I told Kyle is why I haven't kept up with it. Because if something just seems too confusing to me, I just don't dive in on it. But they're like, why? Exactly what I said. Why even have a conference if you're going to judge it based off of all these other factors? Like, it only needs to be off of conference play. What's the point? Because then it places less importance on conference play, which is what should really matter. Like, it's just basic math. It's making it too complicated.
No, yeah. I mean,
y'all share your thoughts, but that's my thoughts. And they said it too, and they brought it up multiple times during the game. And I was like, well, I'm glad to know that the experts agree with every single thing I've been saying.
Yeah, and even Kyle, he mentioned that obviously the WAC probably is going to do some tweaking to this after this first season with it in, because it's definitely posing some issues and some problems already that have arisen, especially with this, whole aspect of New Mexico State too, all of a sudden at the end of the season not finishing, and how that kind of shakes out. And my biggest grievance with it, other than the fact that it's just confusing and it makes not a lot of sense when like you said, when it comes to the conference itself, but is that they instituted it right after everyone already almost had their schedules full and done. Whereas you didn't give these schools an opportunity to be like, oh crap, we have this new thing starting. Let me make sure I go down and schedule teams that will help me in the standings and in the seating rather than hurt me.
And they talked exactly that. And they pointed out, what we've always been saying, how hard it is for us with our success beating these big teams that no one worth getting points wants to come play us. So even if we had the heads up, it's still difficult. So.
But that's that's the thing. But at least if we would have had more time, if they would have instituted it in, next season in 2023, 2024, that at least given all the teams, not just SFA, I don't want this just to benefit us, but like all the teams, an adequate amount of knowledge ahead of time so that when they do sit down to work on the schedule, that they're taking that into consideration rather than, just saying, well, we have a empty slot here. Let's just throw in an NAIA team or a Division III team because we have no one else to go to. And it's not going to hurt us really when it comes to, seedings for the tournament itself. I mean, it's just, it makes no sense. Like, in that respect. And that's the main irritation I have to it. Again, I see where they're going with it, but I just don't think that the way that they have it set up now is logical.
No, I totally agree. And especially since it's a known fact that our conference is a one bid conference.
That's exactly when you're the WAC. Your goal is to be good enough to get your tournament champion and an at-large. That's your goal. That's where you want to be. So why would you stack the deck against teams where that could be a possibility? You are if they would have done a formula and it matched the actual standings, then you don't need the formula. But you're encouraging. What happens is, you're giving greater weight to home games, but when they have to play the conference tournament or the NCAA tournament, those aren't home games. You want the team that's playing the best at the end of February, beginning of March. Those are the ones that have the best chance to represent you. And why you would penalize a team that has a better record, because it's one of those things, either everybody needs to do it this way or no one does it this way. But you're penalizing some teams that actually is going to hurt your conference. And it's going to hurt your conference when you have a higher seed that may do, better in the tournament, or you get two teams that are playing each other too early in your conference tournament where either one of those teams could have won, and you're knocking out your chance to get an at-large. And like I said, the records don't really beg for an at-large this year, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't have. And as being part of when SFA first went to the NCAA tournament, I was, close to the program back then. I was on the board, and it was fun. We talked to the head coach at the time back then, and he says he comes back. That we were very late publishing our schedule, and he says no one will play us now. It's the curse of success, and definitely no one will play you at your place. Maybe some big time schools will let you come to them, but they're not going to come to you. And so with that difficulty, and then you're putting another handcuff on some of these teams by this goofy seeding system, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't see the point of hurting your teams that might have a chance of having that better record. You want them to take a better schedule. I kind of get that if you're going to do strength of schedule. But when they are picking at-large teams, they don't take that into they do look at the schedule, but then if you have too many conference losses, you're automatically disqualified. And so I just don't see where this is a good thing for the conference. Maybe a good idea, but boy, they didn't implement it well.
No, I totally agree with you, and I'm glad you made a really good point that to give our conference the best foot forward with the best opportunity of team that could get into the tournament, it should be based on how that team's doing towards the end of conference, because that's like that's where you are, and within a week you would be playing in the tournament. So your success at the beginning of the season could be irrelevant by then. You could have lost players due to injury. You could have lost players due to transfer portal. Teams could have gotten stronger by the end of conference and be at a higher level then. Maria Delgado says the real problem is Power 5 teams don't want to play WAC teams. High mid majors will not play WAC teams. I know. We're glad that someone else feels our frustration on that, because Said it's not. It's dumb. The WAC will never get more than one team in the NCAA tournament and get higher seed, and they will get as a 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we were discussing yesterday.
I mean, yeah, and they're like, well, yeah, we want to. Kyle said that we want to, try to be in a better position to get a 12 seed. I'm like, listen, SFA's been a 12 seed in the Southland. Like you're talking like this is like an unrealistic thing. Like it's very realistic. And how many times have we beat a 5 seed as a 12 seed?
Yeah, because I mean we've gone in more times as a higher up seed than 16 than we haven't. Like we've gone in as a 12 and a 14. I don't even think we've ever gone in as a 16 seed.
If we have, it was a long time ago, and that I don't recall.
Yeah, the last 2 times at least, I know we were 12, and then I think we were 14 once.
Yeah, but obviously they don't ask us our opinion, unfortunately, the WAC. So I do hope that they do what Kyle thinks that they're going to do, and definitely reevaluate the seeding system and tweak it after this season to make more sense and make more logical progression or sense when it comes to the conference start, and stop punishing teams who can't schedule bigger schools to play because of their success. And if that's the case, you want to keep the system the way it is, help them schedule them. Like get on the horn as commissioner or whoever the hell you are and be like, hey, we need some teams. We need some games. Home, away, doesn't matter. Help us schedule these games. Otherwise, I mean, like we can only do so much, Sam Houston, well, they'll be gone. But like, these other teams that have success, I mean, ACU, Tarleton, some of those guys played really, really good teams this year. And, and then all over here, we're stuck with playing freaking NAIA teams from nowhere USA. I mean, it doesn't really make sense because we're basically getting punished for being too good. And it's just wild. Rick says we've never been a 16 or a 15.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Yeah, I didn't agree. But yeah, so let's just we're never gonna get.
Yeah. There's a dissertation on that, whether you wanted it or not.
Yeah. And it's just unfortunate that this takes up so much of our mental energy because it's just so dumb. But anyway, it's also not going to go anywhere. Like they've already instituted it. It's here. So unless they tweak it or just completely get rid of it, which I would be shocked if they did, we're just going to have to get used to it, unfortunately. And I really do hope that they do tweak it because it needs tweaking. But if they don't, then we're just going to have to live with it until we move conferences or something. Like there's no other way around it, unfortunately. Yeah. So yeah. All right, let's continue talking. Marie, she said, why can't SFA move to another conference? I mean, it's not like we can't, but I mean, I feel like it would just not benefit us to move to another conference right now. Like we just got to the WAC.
Yeah, I don't see it soon on the horizon because I think we're happy with the move that we made to the WAC for now.
Yeah, I don't think the seating thing is going to be the main reason why we would move. It would be for the benefit of the entire athletic department, not just basketball, if we move. And I don't foresee that happening right now. Maybe now with us being part of the UT system coming up, that may help us budget-wise in order to move to it because you have to have money. You got to have money. You got to have backing. You got to have supporters. You got to have, some sort of budget to do that. And if we don't have the budget, then why would we do that? Yeah. Setting us up for failure. So, all right. So let's continue to talk about the strengths of the game. We quickly mentioned Jaleel. He had a great rebounding game. Love when he gets in there and he gets good minutes in because it really shows that he is getting over his injury and really starting to produce and be a good addition to the lineup there. Let's see. Who else can we chit-chat about?
Let's talk. Well, so to start off the game, we started out with great defense, and we really did have great defense the whole game. But, we forced 2 turnovers in the first 3 possessions. So that was great. And then the announcers did us some loving shout outs and mentioned how we're third in the country on forced turnovers. So
yeah, Press U was definitely back in the building, baby. Compared to their 8 points off turnovers, California Baptist, I mean, we had 23. So that's a nice, that's basically the difference in the game right there.
It was it was back and forth almost all of the first half. We didn't pull ahead until, with like 2.5 minutes left, it was a 1-point game. And by the time, and then it was up to like 8 by halftime. And really, they just turned up the defense. The defense was good, but we wore theirs down. And I really think the difference was our backcourt was faster and better with the ball than theirs was. And that's where their turnovers came from, was that Armstrong, one of the two Armstrong Tasmanians, just couldn't handle that press. And then it got a little chippy. And then after it got a little chippy, they had a little, little pushing and shoving. After that, they were done. We never looked back after that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it literally was almost exactly 2.5 minutes left in the first half when we finally kind of separated. And I do have to give a shout out that Coach Jasek's wife had just shown up and sat behind us when we made the turnaround. So I turned around to her and I was like, I'm glad you came, because as soon as you came, we just turned the corner for real. So I guess she brought us some good luck. But
she's a show up early Wednesday.
I know.
Yeah.
But you're right. We totally shut down number one. He only had 7 points and 2 assists. And the announcers mentioned that he leads the WAC in assists per game. So that was great.
Yeah. He apparently is supposedly like one of the number 1 draft picks. And I'm like, what? I forget who said that. Somebody said that after the game, and even said that to Jaleel, saying like, yeah, like so much for that number 1 draft pick for number 1, like his stock, he ain't shit. And Jaleel or Trot was like, yeah, like that was all he had. That he was nothing, man. And he talked a lot of talk, and he was talking a lot of crap. And I literally wanted him to just go away, because him and his brother's faces were just so punchable. It's just so punchable. And again, he's messing with our team. He's talking crap to the bench, and he was just being a instigator. And that just comes back from the frustration of just not being able to get anything to go down. And I don't even know what his ending points were. Let me go back and look. He only had 7
points and 2 assists. Yeah, I said that a second ago. And he had 5 turnovers, which the next person after him on the team only had 2. So,
Brian was right when he called him a walking turnover.
Most definitely. Yeah, we have one of our friends sitting behind us heckling him for pretty much the entire game, yelling at them to put their number 1 back in, because he was giving us the most turnovers. Rick said, at the end of the day, our conditioning is better. That's true too. And we brag almost every podcast on Cody, our strength and conditioning coach, because he works wonders. Those guys are ripped and cut and can outrun any team that we play, really.
Ripped and cut. Straight out of the mouth of Jacqueline Parton.
I have said every time we mention it, I want the workout plan and the meal plan, because I need the abs that our guys have.
Yeah, that's true. That's facts. Yeah. And Rick's right. I mean, obviously it showed that our hustle, our conditioning, our workouts are paying off, because they just couldn't keep up. They just could not keep up with our brand of defense, could not keep up with the fast pace that we put on them. And they were losing it, man. They were losing it. They only had 2 guys in double digits, number 3 and number 12, which number 12, he started off pretty good with like some threes, but then his 3-point percentage went down. I mean, he was only 3 for 9, but he did have a couple good threes, so good for him. But we ain't talking about them. We're talking about us. Um, who else? Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about
Day for a second. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You read my mind. Yeah, Day.
So he didn't score his usual like high points. I mean, he was second high point.
I mean, he had 15 points, Jacqueline. What do you want from the guy?
Not his usual is like wild in itself, but he had a great game. The announcers spoke super highly of him. They mentioned how he's top 30 in the nation in field goal percentage, and they were dubbing him the best post-up guard in the country, and I have to agree.
That's big.
Yeah.
For ESPN guys and analysts to say that about our Day, my God. So the only thing that not the only thing I have to say about Day, but this is literally a direct quote from Adrian Hall after the game. He came over doing the typical, handshakes and high fives and hugs that happen after the game. And the first thing out of his mouth to me says, on your podcast or on your whatever he called it. I don't even know what he called it. He said, make sure you say that Day is hood ready. And as much as I would love to know and to lie and say I know what that means, I'm just a little white girl from Nacogdoches. I don't know what hood ready means, but Day does, and he says that he is hood ready. So
he's probably cracking up right now that you said it.
He probably is. I don't know, but he said make sure that I mentioned that he's hood ready. So everybody watch out. My boy Day is hood ready. He is just an absolute freak. And during the game, we even said it, like we were all talking about it, us and Brian and all them behind us. Just his footwork is just pristine. It's insane. We've said this before. We'll say it again. I don't think I've ever seen a player like him, to be honest with you. He is just so special, so special. We're lucky to have him, honestly.
Very, very. Okay, let's talk about Trell for a second. So Trell had a great no-look pass to Day for an assist while we're talking about Day.
So good.
And Trell, he had some great mid-range jumpers. He had a great step-back jump shot, a fabulous steal and fast break. He had a couple of great drives.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say, however, I'm afraid that maybe I jinxed him for the game by wearing my Trell shirt because he didn't have any threes for the night.
So yeah, let's not wear it to Vegas then, I guess.
Yeah. It's retired for the season for now.
Retired for the season. Mine's fine because he played well when I wore mine, but I think maybe it's just yours. I'm just kidding. I do hate that Trell didn't have any threes, but yet again, a lot of times, like we've mentioned, even if the points aren't there, he totally makes up for it in his defense. I mean, he is on you like white on rice. Him and AJ are just on people like white on rice, man. And they don't stop. They don't stop. Literally, I don't even know when the first time when AJ came out of the game, but it was pretty soon after the game started. Like it was maybe like 3-4 minutes in, and AJ was dripping in sweat.
Yeah.
Like dripping. And I turned to Jacqueline, I was like, Jesus, AJ is literally dripping in sweat, and the game just started a few minutes ago. Like he was schwitzing pretty hardcore.
Hard. So a few things before we move on from Trell that the announcers did say. So they gave him some shout outs, so maybe they jinxed him also. I don't know. But
probably.
They mentioned how he's 5th in the nation on 3-pointers. He's 2nd leading scorer and assist on our team. So yeah, he's doing great all the way around. And we can transition into AJ's game off of that note. He had some great free throws. Let's see. He was
200% on his free throws. Yeah.
Great little step back 3, a great steal and a fast break. So going into the half when we had that 7-0 run, he had all 7 of our points on that 7-0 run.
He did.
He played amazing.
He did. I would also like to say that I'm really proud of everyone because there was not a single person that got 4 fouls, which is rare for us. Normally we have multiple people in foul trouble. We had a bunch of people with 3 fouls, but nobody with 4. So shout out to us for not getting into serious foul trouble. Very much appreciate it. But yeah, no, AJ is just an absolute ball of energy and fire. He doesn't quit. I don't think quits in his dictionary or in his like file of fat, of words. He is an absolute workhorse, and I mean, they all are, but he's nuts, man. He played 24 minutes. I mean, like we said, 100% on his free throws, and 12 points, just showing up exactly where we need him, when we need him. When he's on the court, when he's leading, when he's point, everything runs smoother. And, he's just an absolute amazing addition to our team.
Totally. Yeah, he played great. Let's see. I have
Richard, do you have any thoughts about Day or Trell or Jay or Juice?
What's great about if you're an opposing team, you've got to hate when it's time to play SFA, because there's not one guy that you can say, okay, we'll shut this guy down and we'll be fine. Because you can try to shut Day down and you'll have AJ, and last night it was Nigel's night. Nana can have a big game, something like, and then you also hate that you are going to expend every last bit of energy just trying to move the ball around when you're on offense, going against that press and going against that defense. People are not happy to see SFA roll up on their schedule next. And it's even if you do, and we've had a few losses, that's not an enjoyable evening, because there's not, like, the game coming up. I know you guys, I don't want you to jump into the preview, but they're kind of they're a very good team, but where the ball's going. Most times where that ball's going. Yeah. We're not like that. It's nice to see that complete game, like you mentioned, and eventually, as this team keeps evolving, there's going to be the one guy, and it may not be the same guy every night, but the one guy that's going to step up and take a close game, put the team on their shoulders, and make sure they win. And that's going to be like the next step of this. And it was nice to, Nigel couldn't miss, but you're right. AJ took over the end of the first half and put them in a position where they could, be themselves, play looser. They had a little bit of a cushion, and it was great to see, the offense clicking along with the defense, and the turnovers. They do turn the ball over a little more usually from the other team, but boy, they took they forced them into, and I think that was even made reference to in the post-game press conference, how many bad shots SFA forced them into. Their shooting percentage was low because of that. They didn't get any easy looks, and that's another trademark of having to play SFA is you're not going to get easy looks.
No, I mean, we're going to make you work for it. Even if we're losing the game, we're going to make you work for that win. And you're going to leave that game either, as the other team victorious and absolutely dog tired, or you're losing and you are absolutely dog tired. I mean, there's no way around it. And that's just the type of defense that Keller runs. And that's just the type of defense that we're known for. And you know what I mean? And most of the time it comes out in our favor, thank God. And last night was one of those situations. And towards the end of the game, and they were just throwing up desperation shot after desperation shot, not set, hand in the face, constantly just, they were running around like crazy people, like wild men, trying to get anything to fall into the bucket. And it just wasn't happening because we just would not let it. And that is exactly the defense that we need against Sam Houston on next week on Wednesday. Because, man, oh man, yeah, you're right. They got one, maybe two guys, but as you've seen so far this season, we have multiple guys that can have that game. I mean, we just had Nigel last night have a game of a season, right? Then you have guys like AJ who have games of the season. You have guys like Rati who can come up and have a fire game too. Trell, obviously, we know what he can do. Day. I mean, it's an endless source of guys who can step up at any moment's notice. One guy's getting in foul trouble, the next guy up, he comes in and takes over. Even the guys on the bench. I mean, you let Jaleel loose and he's going to have, 10 plays for 10 more minutes. He's going to have 10 more rebounds. I mean, guys like Robbie come in like absolute terrors and just start just making people look stupid because he's flying around the court like a crazy man, blocking shots, creating, situations, chaos. He's literally chaos in a jersey. And so, yeah, I couldn't help but agree. Jacqueline, do you have any other positive notes before we move on?
Yeah, let's talk really quick about some of our bench players. So since you mentioned Robbie, yesterday he had some great help on defense. He had some great rebounds. He had 4 rebounds. He was 100% from the free throw line. He had that absolutely sick block that was totally worth the foul. Totally worth
100% worth the foul. 100%. I'll take that foul from him any single day.
So worth it.
He has the most ridiculous, other than Trell, he has the most ridiculous celebrations. That's all I got to say. Like, Trell has like normal celebrations when he hits a 3, but like when Robbie does anything, blocking, a rebound, a layup, his celebrations are just over the top. And I'm just, again, surprised he has not been called. Because he's wild, man.
So we had some great shots from Rati, from Derek, from Matt. Matt had a great 3. Lots of great stuff off the bench. And my last little good note for Nana. So first of all, the 2-handed slam.
Oh, which by the way, I had multiple people message me right after that slam because they saw all of us jump up and do like that behind the bench. And I had multiple people text me and be like, I see you freaking out behind the bench with your arms over. I was like, oh God, I forgot this was televised. And I was like, and we're right behind the bench. Yeah. I had multiple people and literally every single video that was posted from the SFA basketball account, every time you could see.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go through and watch them all. I haven't done that yet. And then the commentators, talked about Nana and about his father for a few seconds. So that was really nice. They, mentioned how his dad moved here from Ghana at age 37 and then ended up getting 4 degrees. Now Dr. Kwame's head of the government department, SFA, all that. But they mentioned one little tidbit that I must be living under a rock because I haven't heard this. But did you know that Nana's nickname is the mayor?
I hadn't heard that.
I was like, I haven't heard that one, but now we know.
What is he the mayor of? Like,
I guess Nacogdoches. I don't
Lane?
I don't know.
Mayor of the paint? I mean,
The sawmill?
Yeah. That's funny. I didn't know that was his nickname. We just called him Na Batman. I didn't. Well,
I didn't know.
You, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, they said they talked to him before the game and that his nickname was the mayor. So
it's probably because everybody knows him because he's from Nac.
I think so too, probably. So maybe like mayor of campus or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like he's one of the most recognizable faces around Nacogdoches because he literally grew up here. Yeah. He's a hometown kid. What are you gonna do? Okay, great. Was that all you had? So we can move on.
You have anything else, Richard, on the feats of strength?
I'm good. No, it was great to see. That was a highlight reel dunk, and I was I thought he was going to go up for the 3, and he passed it up, and now it was a good decision because it was wide open, and that's probably what got played on ESPN all night last night.
Exactly.
And he had already gotten a 3 for the game, and the commentators were sure to say that he only takes about 4 or 5 threes a season, so that he was wanting to try to get a few more in. So I'm glad he got that one.
Yeah, because usually when he takes them, he makes them. So it's not often. All right, moving on. Next segment, talking about
begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it. You.
All right. So, Jacqueline, take it away. I mean, obviously, the game was a dub, so I don't have a lot of grievances, but I do have a few, but I'm sure Jacqueline does too. So, go ahead.
I don't have, excuse me, I don't have many either, but a few small ones. So during the game, I made a note that we were letting Trey Armstrong make too many threes. Looking at the stats, he only made 2 of 5, which is not that bad. We've discussed this before. The defense that we run, there are a lot of times that on the weak side, there is someone wide open for 3. And so when they make them that wide open, it feels like it's a lot more than it really is.
Yeah. I mean, they only had 7 total, but dang, if you would have told me that last night they only had 7, I would have said you're lying, because it did feel like they had a bunch. And you're right. I mean, it's because of our defense, and it just felt like those threes were they just kept coming, especially in that first half. But yeah, they only had 7 total, which I felt like it was way more. The other couple grievances I have obviously were the number of personal fouls. I mean, we had more than them. We had 21 and they had 17. I mean, but again, it didn't feel like there were that many. But thankfully, their free throw percentage wasn't as good as ours, and they only had 68% to our 78. So we did a lot better on that, but still grievance. Another grievance, obviously, it's not like a knock to him. It's just a grievance because I wish that he would have been able to hit one of the 4 that he tried, but Trell with not hitting any of those 4 threes that he attempted. You just don't normally see that from him, but again, gonna have an off game on the threes. It's not always gonna be guaranteed. And then
we had a few too easy drives to the basket for them, I feel like.
Yeah.
That I didn't love. The only main refereeing complaint I had was that there were several times that they were either hand checking, grabbing the jersey, grabbing the player, and you'll know how I don't like that because that's what gets people heated up. Which kind of leads me into the double tech. Now,
I was just about to say the double tech situation is my main grievance.
Yes. But so I will say this though, when I watched it back, I saw more clearly what all happened, and I'm actually going to disagree with the commentators and what they said, because when I was rewatching it back, the commentators were both kind of saying, we don't think there should be any tech called at all. They should just call the personal foul and move on. There wasn't anything that egregious, whatever. I actually do agree with them calling the double tech. So whenever I watched it back, Day-Day actually did initiate it because he swatted the ball out of the dude's hand. And then, which maybe the guy said something to him first, but then he walked over and like swatted the ball out of his hand. And that's when the dude turned and kind of bowed up. And Day-Day did like put his arms up at that moment, but I'm like, you already went in swatting the ball. So you knew he was going to match that energy. So I do agree with the referees calling a double tech there, because that's really a moment where, especially if you've been, which they shouldn't have been letting all the hand checking and grabbing calls go unwhistled, but that's their moment where they really have to take control of the game and set the tempo, that there's not going to be any back and forth. And it really didn't injure either team, because since they called a double tech, there were no shots. So,
well, thanks to the two of you, I was about 10 feet away from it when it happened.
Right. I was about to ask what your thoughts were on it.
And so I saw the opposite side of where you were. So what started it was literally about 5 seconds before that. One of the Armstrongs really just dribbled in and pushed off.
He did. He pushed AJ down.
He pushed him down, and then they readjusted, and then he flings an elbow, and he swung the elbow, and that's what got. And then it was. I don't even think it was. He pushed AJ, and then that's when Day-Day comes over, and I couldn't see the swatting of the ball, but he was coming over to say, first you knock him down, now you're swinging an elbow. And that's why I thought they went over to look, not just what was going on, but they were looking to see if the elbow was going to be a flagrant. when they went to the scores table, because he literally came out with it. And but I always think that the double tech is just kind of their easy way out.
It's totally a cop out.
Yeah, I think it is.
But it's more, I feel like, just to make a point that, like, hey, we're going to make a call that's not going to injure either of you, but it's more to make a point that this is the tone going forward. And
it's just trying to calm everything down. And you know, to an extent it did. But I also think that it was it was a spark, because they were flat, not only the rest of the half, but the rest of the game, compared to what SFA did. So it was a motivator. It appeared, because that's when, right after AJ got knocked down, you said it yourself, you know, he ran off 7 straight.
Yeah.
So knocking down some more.
That was like 30 seconds before. So I think he'd done most of his scoring then. But another thing that was even funnier about the whole thing is they initially blew the whistle for the offensive foul from him pushing down AJ. Then they went to review it for whatever reason and assess the double technical. But then in reviewing it, they actually called him traveling before he even did the offensive foul.
Yeah.
So
it was just one big cluster. And I think my main issue with, I don't mind the double tech. I mean, I get why they did it, but I do think sometimes that's the easy way to go about it. But I get why they did it, and I understand it. But my main issue with Armstrong, number one, is he was already, before that happened, he was already being an instigator and talking smack, because right after he made a bucket, he literally turned to the entire bench and was talking and jawing to them. And I'm literally flipping my lid over there on this on the sidelines behind the bench, saying, I mean, are you literally, the ref is right there, said nothing to him. I mean, when you turn and you're talking shit to the bench directly, I mean, that right there should be ding.
Yeah, and we, like I mentioned earlier, he's supposed to be leading an assist, and we held him to 2 assists, only 7 points, turned the ball over 5 times. I mean, we had him agitated, and he was liking it. He was not used to that, and he was not responding well, which is exactly what we want to do. So that was great. And then he really actually lucked out that they went and reviewed that, because if he would have gotten the personal foul for the offensive charge and the tech, he would have been at 3 fouls going into halftime. But since they reviewed it and saw that he traveled first, he got off scot-free on that foul.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm just, again, blown away. I got to remember who said something about him being either like a first rounder draft pick. I was like, if that's what you call a first round draft pick kind of guy, like, what type of standards are we? Didn't look great to me. And I mean, maybe that's a testament to our defense and just shut him down and made him look like a peewee basketball player. But I think the kids that came out at halftime that play for the Rec probably could have outshot him, to be fair.
Yeah, I was not overly impressed. I'm about to pull up the roster because I didn't even think he was a senior. He's only a sophomore. So what are they talking about him being a draft pick?
I don't know. Like, someone said that to me at the end of the game and mentioned something about a draft pick or a first rounder, or he's been highly coveted.
11 wasn't any better.
Exactly. Like, the whole Armstrong team was just in the poop chute. But yeah, like I said, I don't have a lot of grievances. That whole tech situation was my main one. And I mean, anytime we can have a absolute shellacking like that and get a win. Jacqueline and I have talked about this before. Like, we love close games because we love, like, the anxiety of it, the fire, the passion, the all of it. But sometimes we just want a good old fashioned absolute butt kick. Just to sit back, not worry, not have to be anxious about it, and just to sit back and watch a 20 to 30-point victory come across the screen. Sometimes we just prefer that. But Richard, anything on your end that you saw that you think that they should be improved upon? worked on.
when you said grievance, the double tech was the only thing that popped into my head.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, usually the officiating is going to be the top of my grievance, but that was really the only main one that we actually, no, there was a bunch of travels that they didn't call too. So there's that.
They did miss multiple travels, which I didn't like.
A lot of travels.
So my only last
they missed a couple extra steps, but the one that I usually don't see missed like that, and maybe it was because again I was that much closer to it. There was at least twice I saw dragging the pivot foot, and a lot of times you may not see that called, but I saw that there. I think I called him the great value Pau Gasol at number 10 that they had. He got in there a couple times and he would move around and he would, he'd drag his pivot foot, a foot down, while he was trying to find someone to pass the ball to. There was I had said great value Pau Gasol, and then guy behind kind of a little down from me, actually in the stands, he got on number 12, and he was calling him Bucktooth Chris Tucker. And I thought, well, that's kind of funny.
And the best, Richard, I know exactly who you're talking about over there. There's two boys that have been coming to all the games all season, and they stand right there behind the floor seats. Yeah. And they stand back there the whole time, just absolutely heckling and talking smack the entire time. So I know exactly what you're talking about. That's funny.
And they never cross the line.
No.
They never, they never are obscene. They never, but they are pretty funny.
Yeah. No, they know exactly what they're doing. They know to the art of the heckle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear.
I love it.
So my last one, and I just have to give a little what do you call, like a sidebar on it. It's not necessarily a grievance because I love this player. He's one of my favorites. It's just more of something that I know will be improved upon, and I'm ready to see the improvement because I know it will happen and it's there. But Robbie made a lot of great moves to the bucket last night that he just couldn't finish. But I know that's coming, and the only way he's going to get there is to keep making the moves until he perfects it and gets the shots to fall. So I want him to keep doing it. I'm ready to see that happen. And he took that 3, and I wanted it for him so bad.
I know.
They just weren't falling. They were nothing wrong with what he was doing. He was getting the open look, and they just weren't falling.
But that's probably the most moves to the bucket I've seen him take in a game. So I'm glad to see it, and it's just going to take a little more
repetition,
time and repetition of him doing it for me.
Yeah, and he's only been back playing regular minutes. I mean, honestly, I didn't even see him play at all at the ACU game. Like he was there, but I don't think he went in at all. So. I mean, I don't know why. So, I mean, he's not always in the game for very long. So it helps just repetition wise. The more playing time competition, the better he'll be, and the more, rehabbed he'll be from his injuries. So, and that's another main thing. I mean, we were so injury plagued the first half of the season, Jesus, Pete, that all these, players are back now that are, that were in injury and it's just one of those things where, they still have to be careful. They don't want to re-injure themselves. But just Jacqueline and I talk about this all the time. Like all those guys, they're all competitors, and they don't want to just sit on the bench and be bumps on a log. Like they want to be in the game contributing. And so whenever they get pulled out or they come sit because they need to, because they're either literally falling over out of breath, or they've been in so long and they need to take a breather and get some water and maybe put, some icy hot on their knee, they hate it. They always get so, man, half the time they come off with just such angry faces. And I'm like, because they're just competitors and they want to be on the court. But, and I get that. Yeah. They just have to be careful not to hurt themselves at the end of the day. which I mean, if I have another grievance, that's just it, is that, so, you know, sometimes we overplay the ball so much. And I'm like, man, if they don't calm down, they're going to hurt themselves. They overplay some of the plays. You know, there was one where it was like a dump in to Nana, and it was just both guys overplayed it. I don't know if it was AJ or if it was Trell or whoever was trying to pass into Nana into the paint. Nana would just overplayed it, and so was the pass, and that was another turnover. Thankfully, we only had 8, right?
Yeah.
Which I'll take it, baby. But yeah, just need to try not to overplay the ball and the play so much. But I know sometimes that's hard when the tempo and the momentum is so rapid that you just can't stop yourself. Your body's just ahead of your feet sometimes. So it happens.
Yeah. While you were talking about injuries, one more thing I should have mentioned on the feet of strength, and I forgot, but we have had, like you said, we've had so many players injured this season, and I just want to take a quick second to talk about how well all of them are doing coming back from their injuries. But I especially should have mentioned Jalil, because the announcers mentioned how he had missed 2 months of the season. Mm-hmm. And us being so in it just game to game, it's like you kind of forget the whole overview of it. And I had really kind of forgotten, or just not consciously thought about in a while, how long he had been out. And he really did super well yesterday, especially all his rebounds. And thinking about being out for 2 months with a broken foot, the conditioning that he had to do to get back in there to be able to play even the 14 minutes that he did yesterday at the pace that we play, he's really bounced back. So that has to be mentioned.
No, I absolutely agree. And we obviously have to do a shout out to our sports medicine and our sports training staff, because they are the unsung heroes sometimes of athletics and sports, because I mean, they're the ones doing all of the, the planning and the preparing and the grunt work and getting people prepared and back and onto the playing field or the court. So shout out to them. Also shout out to Mr. Whitaker, who is one of our favorites in the stands, which is Jacoby's dad. You may hear him during the games. His favorite sayings are, "It's free, baby," and
"How bad do you want it?"
How bad do you want it? You may have heard him yesterday, Richard. If not, he sits kind of like over our left shoulder, kind of like in the middle corner of the stands. And
I know you're talking. I saw him at the Grand Canyon game.
Okay. Oh, he went to the game.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he even got a little chit chat in with one of the referees last night. We were laughing.
That's right. Oh my God. Thank you for remember that. Oh my God, that was the best part. The referee came over to get some water out of the little jug, and literally he is just hounding him. And the referee is just being nice and just talking back to him and not being, it wasn't like Mr. Whitaker was being disrespectful or anything. He was just hounding him, and it was the funniest thing.
He saw his opening and he jumped right in.
Oh yeah. Oh, he'll jump right in, man. I mean, he'll heckle and talk smack to everybody. He doesn't matter. He'll come over and talk smack to me. I mean, he doesn't care. So, but he's a good guy. He's hilarious though. Good for. He's a wild one. All right, cool. So, Richard, normally at the end when we talk about, the strengths and then we talk about the grievances, we usually try to summarize this game into one word. Like if you can think of one word, one, adjective, one descriptor word to describe the game, the experience, everything, this is when we usually say it. So, Jacqueline, do you have a word?
I'm just going to say success to cover all aspects of the day. The game, the ending score, everybody scoring, us winning was a success. The tailgate was a success. Having our special guest was win all across the board.
I like that. I'm going to say blowout because dang, don't you just love a blowout every once in a while? Like I said, it was fun. Had a little bit of anxiety in the first half, but then once we opened it up, it was an easy breezy game. We could have fun. We could cut up. We could chit chat. I finally got to do my Lion King thing with Addie. I've been wanting to do that for, 15 years with Jacqueline, and she always would deny me. So I finally had my dreams come true for the Lion King moment.
I'm very glad she checked that bucket list item off for you.
So now I can stop hounding you, I guess.
You'll have to add her on Facebook because she actually posted the picture that she and I took together and the picture that I took of y'all doing the Lion King moment on her Facebook about how great of a day she had. So.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to go friend her. That's funny.
Also. Yeah.
So I think one word to describe everything, about the game specifically, and I think you guys said it at the very beginning, was complete. There was not a you can nitpick and find things, but overall there was not an area of the game that they weren't adequate to good to very good at, and it was a complete win. Took them a while to, they put up a good fight. This isn't this isn't our RGV. This is this is a middle tier conference. They had a winning they have a winning record still, and so just to completely dismantle them defensively, and it was a definite total complete win. It was very impressive.
Couldn't agree more. What a great word. Love it. Love it. So now what we normally do is we just kind of end things up. We give some summaries. We talk about the upcoming game, which if you haven't realized it or understood or, paid attention yet, obviously our next game is our last home game of the season. Womp womp. It came so fast. I don't like it. So our last home game of the season going to be versus Sam Houston for the foreseeable future last time. Sam Houston obviously is moving conferences at the end of the season. They're moving up in divisions and to different conferences, Conference USA. And so this will be our last game that is guaranteed with them on the basketball court. And so it's going to be, again, bittersweet. It'll be weird not having them on the schedule unless it's an out-of-conference game. And so it would be great if we could show out and show up again for that. It's Wednesday at 6, yeah?
I think 6:30. Aren't they usually at 6:30? Yeah, 6:30.
Is it 6:30? Okay.
Yeah. So only little minor grievances that our last two games of this season are going to be against the top two teams.
Yeah. So then, we have Sam Houston on Wednesday, and then right after that, the guys travel to Orem and play Utah Valley. So number 1 and number 2 teams in the league. And these are going to be difficult games. Both of these teams, we've already played Sam Houston once. We know what they bring to the table. I believe this is the first game versus Utah Valley. I don't think we played them earlier in the conference season, did we?
I don't think so. And we play them on Friday night. So
yeah, Friday at 7.
Sooner than a normal weekend game.
Yeah. And so anyway, it's going to be, we haven't played them yet. This is our first game versus them this season. And, they were good last year. They're even better this year. So, obviously they're at the top of the standings and in both the seeding and the standings. So it's going to be 2 really hard games. And so we're hoping we can end the season on a high note, go into WAC Vegas with our heads held high, and we're having a really good showing in WAC Vegas, because you never know what can happen in a conference tournament. You never know, because what ACU was, they were below us, right? I mean, they were like 5th or 6th seed or whatever it was. And they went to the championships. They might have been even lower than that. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, you never know.
Got a very good feeling about Wednesday night.
I'm glad you do.
I think seniors last home game. There's not many seniors on this team, but Nigel certainly building off of what he just did Sunday night. Getting beat by them earlier in the year. Last time you're going to get to play them. Hopefully there's a big loud crowd. I think I feel like we're going to have a good showing.
hope
Yeah,
so.
that's a good point. I mean, I really hope so too. I mean, obviously this will be Rati and Nigel's final game at home in the Sawmill. Really hope we can squeak out a win for him. I really do. Really do. Lord, that would be fantastic. I would be ecstatic, and I know everybody else would be. That place would be literally burning down if we can get a win versus Sam Houston, and then turn around and get a win versus Utah Valley. That would be monumental for us. Fingers crossed for sure. Yeah, so we loved having you on, Richard. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a great time. I'm so glad that you and Frito came down and had a great time on Sunday and enjoyed yourselves and had a good time sitting courtside and man, what a great game to watch. Honestly, I'm glad that was the game that you got to see.
I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and talk, Jack's basketball with you guys. Thanks for having me. And again, it was a fantastic. Everything couldn't have gone any better. It was the perfect weather for the tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect game inside. Everything went great, and thank you both so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So it was a fun day. I'm glad you won and you got to come out and that everything went according to plan and we got the dub.
Great.
Exactly. It was perfect. So yeah, again, Richard, thank you so much. Next time we're up in the area, up in the colony, we'll be sure to let you know and we'll come.
Please do.
And next time you come to NAC, same thing. I mean, if you come for any other sports or stuff, or you're coming back next season for basketball, let us know. We would love to see you. And, so yeah, guys, don't forget to make sure you're following us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe and follow us and listen to our podcast. Either you can rewatch these lives or you can obviously listen in your podcast platforms that you enjoy listening to. And then, of course, don't forget that if you would like to pimp your ride out in the most purpley passionate way, you can get yourself a MyPlates, an easy and fun way to support SF Athletics. If you go to www.myplates.com/lumberjacks to get yourself a $50 rebate, multiple options. You can get a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year deal, personalization, no personalization. I mean, MyPlates, it's an SF awesome way to support your Lumberjacks. And then, of course, anytime you want to support your Lumberjacks, drinking Purple Lights is the way to go, especially when you're in Nacogdoches, getting it on tap, getting it in a can, at the game, at the brewery, at the local restaurants and bars. If Purple Lights is an option, get it. Anytime you drink a Purple Lights, you're helping out SF Athletics as well. So always want to make sure you're hitting up the Fredonia Brewery when you're in town and drinking some Purple Lights if you want to support your Jacks. So but yeah, we hope you have a great night. Hope you enjoyed this podcast with Richard, myself, and Jacqueline. We love you guys. And as always, AXE and Jacks.
With Alex and Jax.